wanted to do a quick video on this upcoming storm that's coming in. It's been pounding on the West Coast, I think, for quite a while now. We've gotten a lot of snow. I've seen some forecasts that we've gotten over 9 feet of snow. It's like 2.7 meters in some areas out in the west, up in the Northern California area, Sacramento, Plainville, somewhere up in there. So the storm, what's happening is there's a high off of the southeast corner. It's in the southwest, down in over the Caribbean. And the jet stream is kind of fixated. It kind of comes down out of Canada, makes a loop around Washington, curves back towards California, and then cuts northeast across the states. Essentially, it's where this picture is, where it shows the jet stream. It's kind of going across the southern part of Indiana, across that way, and then it kind of loops back around New York. There's another shot here we'll should see in just a minute. But they're forecasting over the next week. We're supposed to get a minimum of 3 to 5 inches. Now, some of the reports state that there is a minimum of 5 to 7 inches. So it's going to be a lot of rain on top of waterlogged land already. So what's going to happen is, or what could happen is, there's a serious potential for flooding, because essentially the ground cannot absorb anymore, and a lot of the rivers are already at flood stage or are approaching flood stage. So basically what's happening is the moisture off of the west coast of Mexico is being funneled between the jet stream and this high pressure. Okay, so in this picture, you can see where the jet stream is coming out of Canada, basically around Washington and Oregon and California, connects back to the coast, and then it goes up across Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, down around Missouri, across Illinois and Indiana, and basically straight across Ohio. So, and then it heads off into the coast. So basically between those two, as in in the image of the previous slide, you can basically see where that precipitation and the cloud cover is coming across the states. Okay, so now on these two images, you can see where they're forecasting here in the Ohio River Valley, or the Ohio River Valley area. They're expecting at least 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. And on Mr. MBB 333, he was talking about, his sources were showing that they were forecasting in this orangish area on the top left photo, which is from his video, which you can go to at that link. He was saying 5 to 7 inches. Okay, so the image on the bottom where it has the yellow and then the little orange that's down on the southwest corner of Tennessee is from the weather channel, weather.com. So either way, we're looking at a lot of rain in about a week time frame on land that's already saturated. So there's nowhere for this moisture to go except to run off into the drainage systems. Okay, so that means that a lot of the rivers and streams are either in a flood stage already, or they are approaching it, which means there's going to be potential for a lot of flooding, mudslides, and avalanches. Okay, so in areas where the terrain is steep, California, some of the other places, especially in areas where they've done a lot of construction, or you've had wildfires, such as in California right now, the when the vegetation's burned off, there's no chance for the soil or the vegetation to help hold the soil together and to keep it in place. So it basically runs off. Essentially, that can happen anywhere. In areas like in roads where they've cut through to build a road and they've basically cut that underlying support rock, those rocks can start to come loose and fall off, and that creates these avalanches. This typically has been seen in like northwestern North Carolina, where they've cut through the mountains. Kentucky, Tennessee have areas like this where they've actually undercut the rock so that there's nothing to support the rock itself in these cases. So you need to keep your head on a swivel. You need to stay situationally aware of what's going on. I do want to put a plug in for Mr. MBB333. He has a YouTube channel and a website. I recommend both. I try to stay tuned into him as part of my situational awareness. You can do so as well. So, potential for flooding is coming. So these are some steps that you can take to be ready in the event that there is a flood warning issued or a flooding event is about to occur. Obviously, avoid low-lying areas. If there are areas in vicinity of where you are that are prone to flooding, then you need to avoid them. Don't, turn around, don't drown is a slogan that's used a lot by the Weather Channel and other weather agencies. It's a good slogan to live by because you don't know what's going on underneath of that water, especially if you cannot see the ground or the road underneath of it, because what happens is water basically washes away the underlying structures and there is nothing there. So do not travel or do not cross water that is standing on a roadway, or if you're walking on a anywhere, if you cannot see the bottom of that standing water, okay? Just don't do it. Areas that you want to avoid that are subject to mudslides and avalanches, as we've talked about a little bit previously. Any areas that have steep terrain around you, areas of deep, loose soil, and areas where recent wildfires occurred, again, as we talked about in California and stuff. You need to have a bag packed. You can call it a bug out bag. You can call it whatever you want. Personally, have no particular choices or no particular name for it. It's a bug out bag if you want to call it that. If that doesn't suit your fancy, you can call it out of the flood bag. No matter, just have the bag, okay? In this bag, you need to have food and water and your important papers. I'm also going to, in the comments below this, I'm going to post a sheet that I give out to folks that has a list of items that you should have in a bug out bag. It's a recommendation. It's not, this is not the gospel. You don't have to have this. I highly recommend that you do, just for the fact that you want to be able to get out at a moment's notice, because you don't never know what's going to happen, and especially in a flood. You can look at one minute and everything's fine and dandy. The next thing, you've got water up to your elbows. So have this bag ready, have it sitting like next to the door. And you need a bag for every individual in your dwelling. And if you have children, I have a bag or a list for some recommended items for the children. You can, make it a game with them so that they don't get scared. But you need to be ready. You need to stay situationally aware of what's going on around you, what the weather's doing. If a flood warning is issued for your area, you need to be prepared to evacuate, okay? Depending on what or how bad the warning is or what they're saying, once that flood warning is issued, that may be the trigger that you need to execute your plan to get out of there and return only after the situation is passed. And in this case, it looks like it's going to be pretty much most of this week. This forecast is for significant amount of rain from now through next Saturday and Sunday. Okay. If you live next to a river that has a dam or that may fail, there's a link to a article from MSN that's talking about the LA dam potentially could collapse under all of this rain. So if you live next to a river that has a dam on it, you especially need to be careful because dams can be compromised or they have to let out more water than the channel itself may be able to hold, which will then flood the surrounding areas because typically if you live next to one, you're probably within the floodplain, okay? If you live on a low side of a bridge or a low side and there's only one bridge in the area to evacuate across, then you may need to go ahead and get across that bridge before something happens and potentially either the bridge gets flooded or it gets taken out by the debris coming down the river, okay? I know of an instance that happened here just a while back. Somebody posted and was talking about. So this is a very serious threat. And if you only have one way in and one way out of where you are in order to get to safety, and this is the time that you need to cross it before something happens. In the military, we call this a choke point because essentially everybody gets stuck on there because there's only that one way in and one way out, okay? You need to plan ahead what you're going to do, where you're going to go. You also need to plan where you guys, you would link up with those that you care about, family, friends, a group, whatever it is. Because, you know, Murphy doesn't do things on your time. So basically, if something happens, then it's going to happen when you are least prepared and least able to cope with it. So basically, it's going to happen in the daytime when you're at work and your spouse may be at work, kids may be in school. So you aren't going to be all together. It's never going to happen, or usually it doesn't happen. You know, when you're all sitting around eating supper at the, you know, at home, and everybody, you know where everybody's at. So plan ahead, know where you're going to go, how you're going to get there, what's the best routes to and from that location from where you are, and then plan to link up with those that you care about and where that's going to actually be. So again, it's just a quick one. I wanted to get this out because I seen it and it was on my, you know, on my mind. So I want to get this out to everybody. Subscribe to the channel, please, so that you can get other videos such as this, and check out some of the other videos that we have. There is a video on the YouTube channel that talks about where it compares fires and floods, how those two are related. You know, if there's any questions, if you have any comments, put those in the remarks, please, or contact us on the website. Check out the blog posts and some of the things that we can do to help you with this, especially if you need to get a plan. If you don't have a plan, you need to get it before this event occurs. Once the event occurs, it's too late. If you're in a low-lying area, you need to always have this plan because if flooding is not going to go away and never come back. So check us out. Let us know what we can do to help. and everybody stay safe. Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.